How do I handle the automation and the operations on large multi-cloud environments using intelligent observability? That's a question that Kristof Renders, a practice manager for our autonomous cloud enablement team here at Dynatrace, will help you explain today. When you're monitoring these large, massive environments at scale, either single cloud, multi-cloud, doesn't matter. If they're massive, it's not unusual to see something like this. 600 million entities that are being monitored in one single Dynatrace environment. This can be services, processes, hosts, cloud provider managed services, anything you can think of that makes up your application stack that is used to bring value to your customers can be monitored using Dynatrace. Now, how do you bring order into that chaos? We have all this data coming in, but we need to make something out of it. And that is where Dynatrace comes in. It actually gives you meaning. It gives you something tangible when it comes to this data. And who does that for us? Well, that is Davis. Davis is what we refer to as our Dynatrace AI, and it actually identifies automatically anomalies that happen within your massive cloud environments just out of the box. You install our one agent on your system, and it immediately starts detecting this. And instead of just giving you massive amounts of alerts that need to be handled by your SRE teams, we give them a problem and a root cause. Brings order into that chaos. And because of that, we reduce noise of all these single events that are coming in. And because of us providing not you just with a problem, but also with a root cause, this paves the way for automatic remediation. Now, the question that you might have is, well, how does Davis do all that? Well, we have a very cool algorithm that helps us analyze this high dimensional data. So what we do is we take all these sources, metrics, logs, events, traces, right? Anything from end-to-end flow, we take all this data and we put it in a large multi-dimensional cube. And Dynatrace supports up to 50 dimensions. So all of this data, we're bringing it together and we're correlating, we're bringing it together into something that makes sense, right? What is using what? Which service is being used by which application? Which log file belongs to which process, which in turn serves a particular application? All of this data comes from being single sources, each and every single one of them, into something coherent that you can make sense out of us. So when Davis finds out that there is a problem because of a metric-based or a non-metric-based event, it gets fed into its causation engine, and that engine will go and fetch more information, more context from the additional sources that it has at its disposal. So when a transaction slows down, we actually know all the components that are part of the transaction, which method level detail is part of that transaction, which users are using that transaction, which log files, all of that information comes together. And so when a problem happens, you go from, let's say, an application that is being impacted. Your users are having a slow experience or a failure in transactions. We know that this application by itself, where it runs on, so we have topology information. We also know which transactions are being called during this or in this application. So it could be a Node.js microservice that is being called. And there we have also code level insights. We have additional metrics. We even have data coming from the cloud container platform that we can use. And then in the end, it calls maybe another service where we incorporate more data, such as events, such as log files that we are getting, and even third-party events that are being fed into Dynatrace. Maybe a deployment happened. Maybe a configuration change happened. We actually feed all that data into Dynatrace, and it makes sense out of it. So it can tell you when something goes wrong and you are in a situation where your service level objectives are not being met. We actually know why that is. So let's take a look at this particular example and let's ask ourselves, well, okay, how does that work? Davis will alert you before your SLOs start to drop. So here we have a problem. Something is wrong with my application. We know at a glance, and this is just out of the box behavior, what happened, right? What's my problem? What is the impact of my problem, right? Which services or processes are being impacted? who is my first responder team, who is picking up this particular problem, and what is also the blast radius, how many other services or entities are impacted, yeah, and what is that root cause. And here we can see that that root cause was actually a particular service, and we can see the massive amount of applications and users that were impacted. It was not just one application, no, because this particular service was used by multiple applications, mobile apps, web apps, so maybe some REST API that you expose to your users. All of them were impacted. And here you can see that in a single glance. And from there, we can actually take that root cause, and using that impact, we can drill down into, well, what is the technical issue that we're facing here? So that actually shows you the power of what Dynatrace can do in these massive environments. It basically gives you both the needle and the haystack. So Dynatrace resolves alerts before your SLOs are impacted as well. Let's take a situation, and manual operations has a big challenge. And the challenge is, well, we're spending actually most of our time in manual communication and not remediating issues. A lot of organizations have gotten really good at detecting a problem. You've got a platform like Dynatrace, which is the best in field at that, right? So we have that information. We also often, when we give a problem to the right people, they know how to solve it. It's that time in the middle where you are spending it figuring out who to talk to and which action to trigger that is actually being lost. What you should get to is a situation where problems are detected, handled, and remediated in an automated fashion. Now, everybody likes a good example, so let me give you one from something that we have done at our customer. Here we had a very simple case, right? We had a Windows virtual machine, and our one agent was there, and our one agent is automatically looking at this machine. So it detects what is running on it, resource consumption, the services that are being exposed, everything that is happening on that machine. And we detected a problem. And in this case, right, that problem, of course, detected by Dynatrace will be sent to ServiceNow, where it will be turned into an incident, and all the events that are part of that incident will also be automatically sent there. At the same time, in order to notify the right people, we send a problem notification to our Slack channel, or the right Slack channel that this particular virtual machine or service or whatever belongs to. And then ServiceNow will tell Dynatrace, hey, Dynatrace, I've received your problem, right? I'm going to try to automatically remediate, and I've started that action. And at the same time, ServiceNow also tells that to our Slack channel. So people are aware of what is happening, completely automated. ServiceNow, in turn, then calls a PowerShell script. It uses something called a mid server, in this case, very ServiceNow specific, but keep in mind that there's a shell script or PowerShell script that is being triggered. Yeah, this PowerShell script executes that. So based on the problem, based on the root cause, saying that, hey, this problem or this process has hung, we need to restart it. This will now be executed. Yeah, and it will hopefully resolve that problem. But let's say first, PowerShell also gets a confirmation sent to ServiceNow and say, hey, the action at least completed successfully. ServiceNow also makes sure that everybody else is up to date. So it sends an update to Slack and to Dynatrace, comment on the problem saying, my remediation action was successful. Did that fix the problem? Well, we don't know yet at this point, right? Because we need to wait for Dynatrace to detect that. So if everything went well and the restart resolves the problem, the transactions are no longer failing or just passing by the way they should, then now we can actually say, hey, the problem is closed inside Dynatrace as well, and ServiceNow will be updated as well, and the incident will be closed. So this means that in a few minutes, you can go from a detected problem that is impacting your end users in a massive sea of components. We now went from that problem to remediation being triggered and the problem being resolved and closed inside Dynatrace and also ServiceNow. Right. Traditionally, customers could take quite some time to achieve that in a manual way. So we want to actually make sure that you solve your problems automatically and more quickly. But wouldn't it be better if we would protect you from getting problems into your production environment in the first place, why don't we spend some time and talk about how Dynatrace can protect your service level objectives by automating quality gates. Now, quality gates, if you look at it, it's a concept that comes from site reliability engineering, right? There we speak of service level objectives, and you can monitor your service level objectives using Dynatrace. You take your objectives that are important to you and you monitor them at fixed intervals. Maybe it's monthly, weekly, quarterly, and you look at it and you make sure that you're making it. So in this case, our authentication service needs to respond or we actually tracking the response time, the failure rate, and the throughput. And we do that every month. And if something goes wrong, we will act upon it. But where we want to get to is that you apply a shift left motion to this action. And we want to start looking at applying service level engineering site reliability engineering. Pardon that. Site reliability engineering best practices across the lifecycle. So pushing that closer to the source, being the developers. And by doing so, we can use cloud automation quality gates that are powered by Captain in order to do that as you are building your software. So each time you release something in a new environment, you will test it and you will verify if your service level objectives are being met. And if they're not, you can go ahead and fix it. And you keep on doing that each time in an automated way until you get to a state where you actually are happy with the software. And you are happy with the service level objectives, and you are confident that when you release this to production, you will not have any issues. And the goal of that is, of course, that you release more frequently and you gain confidence in your releases. And so Dynatrace Cloud Automation is something brand new that we are actually releasing, right? It allows us to do exactly that. We will have a release inventory screen. We will become version aware. So if you have 5 or 10 versions of the same product running at the same time, we will be able to tell you which version is performing how. We will allow you to verify your service level objectives, which you can already do in our product today. And we have a monitoring as code concept where we can allow you to store or to apply GitOps methodology to monitoring and to observability. And then we also have quality gates, of course, as I just mentioned, and we have closed loop remediation. So having, like what I explained earlier, having Dynatrace trigger and take care of your remediation actions. So in a nutshell, and to sum up, it's time for everybody to take action and to automate your cloud operations, right? So what did I talk about? Well, you want to monitor your SLOs in multi-cloud in complex environments. No matter the size of your environment, Dynatrace has got you covered for that. We have been doing this for a very, very long time. We can alert potential SLO breaches, and we can actually not just know that something went wrong, but we also know what went wrong, what the impact was, and what the root cause of it was. We can start remediating automatically problems that are occurring before they can impact our SLOs, and we can stop bad quality software from reaching production by implementing quality gates that will automatically monitor your service level objectives. Before I let you go, I want to spend a little bit of time talk also about what our team does. So I'm part of the Autonomous Cloud Enablement Automation Services team. We actually look at anything automating around Dynatrace, whether it's monitoring as a service, quality gates, incident management, or automated problem remediation. Our team really has got you covered. We've been working with large enterprises, so hit us up. There's an email address here at the bottom. I'm sure you will also be able to find me on LinkedIn or Twitter, or these days many different ways exist. But I wanted to thank you for your time. Hit up Dynatrace, try a free trial, and be amazed at what it can do for you. Thank you very much and enjoy the conference.